Anne Ramoyne is a professor of epidemiology at the UCLA Fielding School of Public Health. Appreciate you joining us.
Happy to be here.
So most passengers have been evacuated off the hantavirus-stricken cruise ship and are heading home, with the World Health Organization advising each country to develop its own safety protocols. How wise is that advice, and what is the best way to prevent exposure to the public, given a French passenger is now exhibiting symptoms, and that's adding to fears that this could spread?
Well, I think that the key is the WHO has set out the parameters for quarantine and isolation and how this all should work. And those include doing what makes the most sense and is possible in the countries where people are being repatriated. The key points are you want to keep people who have been exposed in a controlled environment where they're being checked on regularly, and that we know whether or not they're exhibiting symptoms. And then for people, if they get sick, that not only do they isolate, but they have access to the kind of care that they need as quickly as possible, because this virus is very, very deadly, or can be. You know, I do think that the very important point here too is that, you know, the symptoms of hantavirus can be very broad. They can mimic a lot of other things. And so when you say there's a French passenger that is exhibiting symptoms that are consistent with hantavirus, you know, what we need to remember is it could be any number of things, but because these symptoms do resemble hantavirus, it's very important to isolate that person as quickly as possible and to do some testing to really understand whether or not these symptoms are indeed a result of hantavirus.
Yeah, that's an important point. And American passengers, we know from the cruise ship, will be required to stop at a Nebraska facility before heading home. What will that process entail, considering some Americans have already returned home from that ship, haven't they?
Correct. So for the passengers that are going to be repatriated to the United States, they're going to Nebraska first. And this facility is specifically built for this exact situation, where we want to be able to get people into a place where they're going to have the right ability to be able to isolate people, provide them care should they need it. They're probably going to be doing these kind of risk-based assessments in terms of really understanding what exposures that they've had, what their medical history is, and really screening them for potential exposures or potential symptoms of hantavirus. You know, it's true that people then are potentially going to be given the option to go home and isolate or quarantine at home, but that's probably also going to depend upon whether or not it's actually really possible for them to quarantine at home. You know, do they have what they need there to be able to do so? Are they caregivers where they might not really be able to make that happen? There's probably going to be a lot of discussion around that before people really make decisions as to what they're going to be doing. And that actually does make a lot of sense, because you can isolate at home or quarantine at home during this time period. It's just a function of whether or not that's actually really possible to do so.
And in addition to this, we are hearing that British Army medics had to parachute onto a remote Atlantic island to treat a UK national with a suspected hantavirus case. What does that indicate to you, given the timing of this?
Well, I think it's really important to remember that this is a very serious disease. It can be deadly if you don't have the right kind of care, and it's care that's given as quickly as possible. And so, you know, I think part of the problem here is that every time we hear of a new development, we have so much PTSD from COVID, we start to wonder, well, what does this mean? Is this going to be, you know, something that spreads everywhere? That's not actually what we're concerned about at this point. What we're concerned about is making sure that we contain a virus that can be very deadly, not necessarily a pandemic threat, but very deadly and very serious for the people who are actually experiencing it, and that's what it tells me, is that people are taking it very seriously. Really important to get people the care as quickly as possible, but doesn't necessarily signal a potential global threat.
And the cruise ship is now docked in the Canary Islands with the crew still on board, along with a small number of passengers. What needs to happen next for the crew and, of course, the ship?
Well, there's still other people that are going to be getting off the ship and going to be repatriated home. And then that ship is going to be, with a skeleton crew, is going to go back to Rotterdam. And it's going to, with a medical board or a medical crew on board, to be able to make sure that the people that are still on the ship, the crew that are there, are also being taken care of should somebody fall ill. And then those people will disembark in Rotterdam. They'll be triaged, screened, probably quarantined there as well, and then the ship will be disinfected.
Anne Remoyne, great to have you with us. Appreciate you answering all the many questions we have. Thank you.
My pleasure.